Well, hello there. Welcome back to yet another episode of My Life as a Landlord. I am Dr. Jen, and I am so pleased to have you with us on the show today. Today, we're diving into the raw, unfiltered, and sometimes downright bizarre realities of real estate investing and landlording, of course. And I always tell people that being a real estate investor can sometimes feel like singing karaoke naked. It's vulnerable, uncomfortable, but if you can handle that, you can handle most anything this business throws at you. Today, I am joined by a wonderful guest who has some truly interesting stories and all kinds of things to offer. Welcome, Ginny.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, tell us a little bit about your background, but I also want to get to your tenant of the decade, which I think is one of the coolest stories I've heard in a while. But jump right in.
I ended up getting into real estate straight out of college. The Department of Transportation hired me to buy property for road widenings.
Oh,
Now, when you think about it, the best defensible alignment of a road is through the least expensive land. So the things we run into, it's a lot of mobile home parks, it's a lot
mhm.
of low income areas, right? So because we have to demonstrate we've analyzed all the alternatives and took the least expensive route. Well, that gives fodder for lots of stories.
Right. Oh
And
my goodness.
here I
Well,
am. Yeah.
go ahead, please. This is great.
If someone has lived somewhere for at least 90 days, they have vested certain rights. So yeah, we have found lots of people doing strange things, and so we'll get into it.
Well,
Anyway, yeah.
tell us a little bit more about it because I know you had a W-2 job as well, and so you've got an interesting background with some of that, and your background is quite diverse. So tell us more.
Yeah. I actually ended up becoming an appraiser also in the 80s, which was the savings and loan crisis.
Oh,
And that too presented a lot of people were in desperate times.
yeah.
There was really a lot going on as banks shut down. That caused real estate projects, even the good ones, to shut down. So the things I saw as an appraiser was very interesting. But then I also I was working for different condemnors over the years, sometimes as an employee, sometimes as a consultant. But then when I realized in 2018, 19, that the laws had changed, and now more people can own this great real estate and not have to do anything. To me, that was mind blowing. And so I pivoted. My company is called Pivotal because it was so pivotal to realize that many people can own these properties and not have to do anything and let the property managers deal with all the stories, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Okay, so tell me more. What do you mean? Other people can help, other people can own. Tell me more.
Okay. I got into, I'd had some buy and holds and done some flipping and this and that. So I have some stories we can get to if you want on those. But where I'm at now, I realized, holy moly, you can be participating in the ownership of big apartment complexes, shopping centers, hotels. I like medical facilities and industrial.
Mm.
You can be one of the owners. And so I love that, not only potentially as one of the operators, but also being the passive investor. Let someone like you handle all the work,
Mhm.
right? So that is where I'm at today. I'm looking for deals in my own backyard because I'm a firm believer that if I'm going to be an operator, I'm going to be keeping tabs on it. It needs to be within a day's travel, simple enough. And I rarely would go outside of that. Depends on who would be the boots on the ground, right? And
Fair enough.
even with a fantastic property management company like yourself, it's just that stewardship for your investors that's very important. Um,
Absolutely.
but so I am more of a fund manager these days. I'm
Mm.
moved that direction. So where I'm going to be a limited partner and bring my investors through my fund to other people's deals where they have selected the property management folks and arranged the whole sponsorship team. And then we come in as a group, because I do it with a group of people where we have more influence to the deal. And then we monitor things. We get to participate in the calls and whatnot from time to time. And even though we don't have a voting interest, we've brought enough investors. We are given the rights to be more involved than the typical LP usually. Not always.
Hmm.
So we get to meet you guys, right?
Oh, that's great. That's great. Now, your backyard, tell us where you are and where your backyard is.
Okay. In Orlando, I used to live very close, walking distance to Universal Studios and
Mm.
Disney. I'm a little further north on the north end of town now, but yeah, it's very growth oriented here. We've gotten a bunch of supply like everybody else, so there's a lot of property management work here. And yeah, there's a lot of stories, of course, too.
It's been very interesting because even in Canada, even in Hawaii, there's been so many locations where it seems like everybody was in the crunch post COVID or even, coming out of COVID, and everybody's permits were ready, everybody's financing was lined up at the lower rates, right? And so we were all ready to go and pushing permits, and then it took forever to get everything going, and then all the logistics and supply chains, and now all that housing is up. And so we're seeing this incredible supply, this huge dump of supply. Really, I've seen it a lot of places. And are you seeing any issues down in Florida in your backyard, so to speak, because of all that supply?
Yeah, and I'm glad you're taking it here because this is really important because
Mm,
so I've been in the business since the 80s and everything, the pendulums swing. I've been involved with the Apartment Association of Greater Orlando, the Florida Apartment Association, and the national one. And we got involved with lobbying for the Live Local Act to make it simpler, faster, easier to build multifamily.
mm,
Because in Florida, the permitting process, most especially, was very laborious. Um, the concurrency and land use regulations really bogged things down a lot. So, in any case, we went and lobbied, we testified, we did all kinds of things to city council, county commissioners saying, don't do rent control. You'll chase away the supply. The developers won't come here. And we barely won,
mm.
barely.
Wow.
DeSantis, being our governor, was pro landlord. So he passed some legislation, which was within that Live Local Act, that made it harder for rent control because it's been proven statistically that that is truly what happens. So now we finally have a lot of supply. And like we predicted, the rents have gone down, they're correcting. That's what we wanted. That's what we predicted. We can't be complaining. This was what we knew would happen, right? So,
Well, and it's supply and demand, it's we knew this would happen. And what I'm seeing in other places like Toronto, Vancouver, even LA, this supply is what was penciled out 5, 6 years ago. And so some of the layouts of these places that were built are not conducive to what people want now. And so what we're seeing is you've got these condos or these townhomes or whatever they've built. Sometimes it's in within a strata or a body corporate or whatever, HOA, whatever the name is, wherever you are. And it's interesting because some of them are sitting vacant and they either can't be rented or can't be sold because it's sort of in this weird dynamic. And so I know we're still talking about the investment side of this. We're not talking about the operating side of this yet, but I just find it interesting. The supply part didn't solve the problem.
well, it
That's what I'm
solves.
finding.
I don't know exactly what the situation is there, but
Yeah.
I hear you that, especially because most of our supply is luxury, and we need
Oh,
affordable. We need
yes.
that's the other thing.
Right. So, well, and I think that's important that when you're doing these long-term forecasting, that you look at what exactly is the demand, but what is the demand going to be, not what it is. And unfortunately, the developers are trying so hard to get what the products are at the time, but at some point you got to cut it off and go, okay, this is what we're building. This, if we're building all luxury, that's what we're building. But if the demand is for affordable, small footprint workforce housing, you know, like for example in Toronto, they've built a whole bunch of very small micro apartments with like a loft bed, and I've been reading lots of articles and saying, you know what, they're small families. They don't want that, right? In Australia, they call those dog boxes because people don't want that. And typically that's for like a couple or a single person, and they have to be nimble to get up in a loft bed, right? And if you have to go pee in the middle of the night, like I'm like seriously, if I'm going to live there, how am I going to live there? And so I kind of go back to, okay, now everybody's got this supply. Now we've got to operate it. Now we've got to lease it. We've got to make it so all the prices are going down. You've got all this incentivizing. Everybody's trying to jockey for the good tenants, but they're not all good tenants. So let's pivot there. Some of them are interesting tenants depending on what you're building, whether it's an A class, so that would be more luxury, or C or D class, which is not necessarily luxury. Um, Tell us a couple of stories from your history from maybe not ideal tenants or maybe ideal tenants.
Well, before we depart that
Yes,
though,
please.
just a moment.
Yep,
Even derelict properties, one man's trash is another man's treasure, right?
right.
And home ownership is so unattainable for so many. There are groups out there that are taking very derelict properties and turning them into affordable housing and in a way where there's home ownership. And one way you can capitalize on that is to kind of minimize, or there's something called co-ops, but in any case, you don't make as much as an ongoing rental, perhaps, but it depends on where you are. But if you add to it, you're providing the financing. Maybe it's not,
Mhm.
but a secondary, that down payment, you still get extra income streams and income that way too. And so there's different ways to try to move those products. And so I would hope they're not going to be left alone.
No, fair enough. No, I agree and I completely understand. And you know, number one rule in real estate is you make all your money when you buy it. And there's lots and lots of stuff that is going to be sitting derelict. And there's a lot of places in general. I don't want to just say multifamily because it's not just multifamily, but there's a lot of places that are starting to feel the crunch with interest rates and such. Are you seeing that a lot in Florida? Are you seeing a lot of things kind of, I don't know what the best word is that, Mike and I are looking at this going, everything was underwritten 3, 4, 5 years ago at
Well,
the
see,
assumptions.
that's been my biggest issue. I launched the company finally in 2022 when interest rates
Mm,
were peaking, right? But that's because in 2020 with COVID, I thought I should delay, but um I didn't like much. I didn't get into much, and I am
mm,
so happy that the correction is now. A lot of people feel like we're bottoming out now. Depends on what asset type and location, of course,
right.
location. But this is the correction I've been waiting for. And I don't know if we talked about it before, but it's not very often. It's like twice in recorded history that commercial real estate values have dipped more than 25%. And we are in one. So this is the third we're in. So um it's a good time to be poised to invest. That, like Warren Buffett says, buy when there's blood in the streets, right? So, all right.
Really? I don't think I've heard that one.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Buy
that's
when
that's
there's blood in the
that's it.
streets.
And so when people are fearful, that's the
Mm,
time to invest. And people are fearful, a lot of them. So yeah. But I was seeing some, over COVID, rents in Orlando jumped 15 and 20%, especially because we had so much luxury hitting the market too. And
hmm.
everybody was hearing the averages of the the average rent, and even the B and C were saying, "Oh, we're too low." So everybody went up, and it was skewed. They weren't looking at their slicing and dicing at their asset type like they should have, but a lot of people got away with it. So
Yeah.
they they didn't plan on this correction in rents that was bound to happen. But so that's just so many people piled in, I think, to syndications and deals because they were meeting 5-year projections in 18 and 24 months with the rents popping that much. There were a lot of people that decided, oh, we're going to sell. We're not going to hold 5 years. We're going to sell at 18 months or 2 years because we met our goals.
Mm-hmm.
So that brought more people in that didn't have real estate experience.
Sort of a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah. But anyway, so what's happened for me, my experience, I had, like I said, buy and holds here and there, and my ex did not want to scale. And
Mm.
I was busy working, like many people in my industry. We're in real estate. We're considered experts. We testify as to value and things like that, but we're not using our skills for our own family, right? We're too busy working, and we get home, it's like, I don't want to do real estate.
Right.
But so we didn't have a lot of rentals, but one of my favorite stories was that I had a condo where it was older. It's actually 1960s. I just sold it this last year, but I had a tenant there that called me about something. I think it was need a new fridge or dishwasher. And we got talking, and she said, "Oh, and a bat got in my bedroom." And I'm like, "What? And you didn't call me?"
A bat.
And I lived a half a mile from her. I would have
Oh
said,
my gosh.
have my extra bedroom tonight. And I said, "What did you do?" And she said, "I caught it and put it outside." I was like, "I'm so glad you didn't call me." And funny, I thanked her a lot for
Of course.
doing that and told her if it happens again, she can call me. And again. And she didn't call me. So she's my star tenant story. I I stay in touch with her.
Yes. Oh,
She's
that's so
cool.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
No, that's great. Well, I tell you, I think one of the best things about being an active, engaged operator for these properties, as a landlord or as a property manager. I mean, the property manager is the operator that's not the owner. The landlord is the owner and the operator as well. But I just find it interesting because I like being a good human and I like helping other humans. And it sounds like you had some really great humans, and they often become friends, right? Like we often have had tenants, even after their tenancy is over and they've bought something or they've moved on or whatever, the conversation doesn't stop. Do you find that's true?
Oh, so true. Yes. Yeah. I'm still in
Yeah.
touch with my tenants, right?
Oh, that's a good testament to a good human, how good a human you are, which is fun. So.
Yeah.
But when we were talking about my show, and recently I had a guest on from Hospice Maui. We talked about when a tenant has decided they're going to expire in the rental unit. What does a landlord do? We've talked a lot about death on the show, and some people find that very weird, and that's fine, right? And it is weird, but death is a part of life, and so. And when I said this to you, you went, "Yeah, well, we've had some interesting run-ins. Tell us a couple of your stories, or maybe it was one of your former partners, right?"
Yes, yes. An old boyfriend that got into real estate because I was in real estate, and he was like, "Holy moly, you can make lots of rental income." And so after we broke up, didn't realize he was amassing, all these rental properties. We talked periodically, but come to find out he had we talked after each one of these, but two times he had somebody commit suicide in
Oh
his
boy.
rentals. And so my point being, and as you know, not everybody has the stomach for this. And so he did not have a property manager. He wished he did. Uh,
Yeah.
he ended up, for instance, there was a woman in a bathtub and he called 911 and they said he had to do CPR. And he has nightmares about this.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. And it took a long time for them to get there.
Oh,
He was like, really, he said, I'm selling everything after that one. But he
yeah.
had one prior where a gentleman um, shot himself in the head too. And so he was
Wow.
finding out the hard way what Florida law requires of you to be the good custodian of the personalty that's left behind so that the family or any heirs can come and claim it. It's pretty burdensome in Florida. I think you have
Wow.
to leave it as is for 30 days. I'm pretty sure there's some specifics, but and then you can't trash it. You need to save it, I think, another 30 or 60, I believe. But yeah, every state's different, every country's different. And so there's a real process to that. So like we were talking about, you may want to, if you want to be a landlord, think about the quality of tenant because there's probably a higher degree of risk with the higher or lower level of income. Perhaps. I don't know that that's true because we hear of well-to-do families losing a child to suicide at just as much, it seems like. But yeah. But the key is
Goodness.
to have a property management company that's on top of that stuff and that knows what to do so that you don't have a lot of downtime because he lost months and months trying to figure out what to do with an empty unit.
Right. Well, and it sounds like, I mean, just from what you were saying, I'm not an expert on Florida law and everything like that, but 30 days holding the unit just as is where is to help with the successors, and then typically inventorying the goods, storing it, trying to notify everyone. I mean, there is a bit of a process, and that's true pretty much anywhere. But I mean, just in that conversation, there's like 2 or 3 months. And then, if there's an insurance claim, right? If there's an insurance claim, if there's biologics that have to be cleaned up, if there's additional items, that like there's a whole process, and then do you have to declare that someone has passed away in the unit? Because if you don't, if it's not declared, the neighbors will tell them, right? Like that will happen anyway. Like instantly the neighbors will tell them all the tea. So yeah, it is there's a bit of work with all this. And you do have to have the stomach. And we talk a lot about awkward conversations and words on this show, and it's not all words.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's situations. Oh my goodness.
yeah,
That's pretty incredible. Well, let's jump back into the people who might have the capacity to deal with this kind of stuff. And you have an interesting spin on what you do in your local area. You brand them local legends, and they have a skill set of different types. So tell us more about what you do to applaud people in your realm, because I think this is really interesting.
yeah. So I have a podcast as well, my company being called Pivotal Real Estate Investments. Um, I call the podcast Pivotal REI, which stands for Real Estate Investments. And what I have decided to do, because I especially like to be engaged locally and know what's going on, know who the movers and shakers are in real estate, because I like to try to keep up, right? And
Sure.
maybe involved. Maybe they need help financing something like the pickleball courts I almost pulled off. And
Okay.
so, yeah, what I do, it's called a series that is Local Legends and Pivotal People. So
Oh,
everybody
okay.
I interview, I ask them, they are told in advance that I'm going to ask them towards the end. And if they're local to me, they can nominate somebody as a local legend too, but otherwise they're just pivotal people only. But it's a chance also for them to recognize someone that's been pivotal in their journey. And
Hmm.
so they can do a shout out. And if that person comes on my show, then we we promote them as a pivotal person. They're in our newsletter forever, and then they even get a lapel pin that says they're a pivotal person. And
That's so
way
cool.
people can find pivotal people as well. And so it's kind of just a fun thing that I really enjoy.
How long have you been doing that?
Probably 2 years. The podcast is 3 years, I think now. So, yeah, it's getting to be a lengthier list. I didn't, well, so wait, I should be able, maybe 2 years, maybe. I didn't think of that until um after the podcast had been going on a while, but over a year for sure. Yeah.
How fun. What a cool way to give back and to thank people. It's this whole method of media is just really interesting and you can really, pivot. Ha ha ha. You can pivot and do different things with it, which is kind of cool. No, that's very fun. Awesome.
Right.
Well, you mentioned a couple different property types already, like mobile home parks. I know you talked about some of that. You talked about maybe some different commercial parks. When you're talking about commercial, you know, business making properties in general, right? Because everybody instantly goes to multifamily, and I go, that's not actually true, right? Some of them are medical buildings. Like there is different ones. So tell us what your favorite commercial real estate type is. And I don't expect you to say multifamily, but maybe it is.
Actually, it's up there. It is up there. I really
Okay.
like industrial the most, the flex industrial, because it's the blue collar worker, the hard worker that needs a place to put that trailer or inventory or things like that. Sometimes they're a fulfillment center. They're working in tandem with Amazon.
Mm.
But the things they do, it's so cool to learn what they are doing. I don't have a syndication with one at this point, but I hope to. And as far as medical facilities, I love those, especially because so many of us boomers are going to need more and more. And the one in particular that I had never praised, but recently got into, and I'm tracking some operators, um, ambulatory surgery centers. They're popping up everywhere, right?
Yes, they are all
That's
over.
hospitals have the track record for infections and all kinds of other things. And so they have been, the powers that be, government and insurers are authorizing more and more procedures to go to these ambulatory surgery centers because the results have proven to be better. So they're flourishing.
I am just shocked. Recently, I spent a bunch of time in San Antonio because that's where my mom is, and she had a medical issue. She had an issue with her big toe, and it wasn't getting better. And I'm like, okay, so she says, well, I have to go to urgent care. And so I'm thinking, sort of, what do they call it? Doc in the box. And I'm going, okay, we got to go around the corner, and this is going to be nothing, and they're going to give us a referral, and then we're going to go to emergency and whatever, whatever. And we walk in. And the first thing that shocked me was that it was more religion based. Like this was a Methodist urgent care, but they have all kinds of different types that are all religious based. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm a Christian, but that wasn't what surprised me because I don't see that. Like they don't have that in Hawaii. It's called Minute Medical in Hawaii. But anyway, we walk in. First of all, there's no one in this huge waiting room. No one. Not even an attendant. We walk in and they've clearly got some kind of a doorbell or something in the back because someone came out to meet me and my mom. And they said, oh, yes, we can take you right back. So we go back, and there's all these little rooms like in an emergency room, and everything is calm and quiet. And they go, oh, you need a this, or we need an x-ray, or we need an ultrasound, or we need all this. And I looked around and I'm like, so they have everything here? And they go, yeah. And the doctor will be in to see. And I said, you have a doctor here? And then they wheel this little screen over, and instantly they go, okay. So they said, well, just check yourself in. And so they had to take a picture of my mom. We had to hold up her little Medicare card and all the little things with it. And the whole thing was so calm and not chaos like a normal emergency room is. And even up in Canada, socialized medicine, everybody's saying, oh, it must be easy with socialized medicine. I go, well, on the news, they're showing that there was a wait time last weekend, literally last weekend, 16 hours a family waited in an emergency room to be seen. 16 hours.
You
So I'm
need
like,
these.
right? So this is where I go, exactly what you're saying, Ginny. Insurance companies don't want people to be waiting 16 hours. They want people to be seen. They want people to get the care they need. They don't want them to get sick. They want this great, amazing product, and they want people to go home and be calm and heal, right? So it's a great product that I think is going to expand. And I mean, I just saw it in Texas and I went, why isn't this everywhere? Because I mean, then that brings up other issues like, doctors and making sure there's enough doctors to staff all that. That's a totally different conversation, but you know, it's really interesting. Now, do you do anything with like self-storage or
And
you know,
too. Actually,
you do?
I do, yeah. And mobile
Okay.
home parks, they really are considered a cash cow, right?
Yeah.
Ideally, you don't own the home, you just rent the land, right? But yes, I like a lot of them, as you might imagine, because I was an appraiser, I'm comfortable analyzing all kinds, and I've bought all kinds because, best I know is there's at least 600 properties I've been involved in buying. So that's
Wow.
all different kinds. So yeah, it's been interesting. And so another one that I'm very interested in, and I never had appraised before either, is marinas. They have 6, 7, 8 inch.
Really?
Yes,
Who'd have thunk? Oh my gosh.
I love being around water. Yeah, you can tell by my pickleball court behind me that I'm trying to help people realize if they invest well, they can go play more.
Ah, so
Yeah.
marinas. I've heard that from other people too. What got you into marinas?
Well, so I'm part of an investment group where we have operators around the country that want help raising capital come and present to us. And
Okay.
together we analyze the deals that we like and decide if we're going to go ahead and raise capital. We thoroughly vet them. Now, we take sometimes a couple weeks going through it all. And everybody, when somebody's doing the legal, somebody's doing the sponsors, I usually do the market, sometimes the property. We divide it all up and then meet. And yeah, we can then come as a group to raise capital. So instead of maybe bringing 500,000 or 1 million to somebody like a typical onesie twosie, together we've averaged 2 million for each deal.
Wow.
So yeah, that helps us to make enough to bring our own investors in and to help vet those deals where they wouldn't have access without us. So
Oh,
yeah, it works well.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting method of, exposing for real estate to different places. That's actually really cool. Um, Now you use this. Is that the fund of funds? Is that what that is? That's the term. Okay. Well, so you've got a group that exposes to different things, and then you guys just underwrite it. Now, Ginny, I've talked with you many times, and we met in person. We met at a syndication conference, and full disclosure. And so you told me right off the hop, I underwrite really, really. I forget the word you used. What was the word you used? You were very critical. You're
Yeah.
right, and you mentioned it before that you really watch. And tell us a little bit more, like your thought process when you're walking into a deal, when you've got a deal in front of you. What goes through your mind when you're starting to underwrite a deal?
Well, first I look at what somebody else already did, and I want to know what their assumptions are. And that's the key, really, in many respects, to understanding their underwriting. And for me, it's key to know the vacancy and collection losses, the um, the actual income, the average income, and the growth rate of that income. And the cap rate going in and the cap rate going out are a big piece, as well as
Mhm.
the expense ratios. Those numbers are the most critical to look at. And then I have my own models, but sometimes I don't even have to go to those because I'm kind of a conventional person. I've done a lot by longhand, and I just will do it on my own pretty quickly usually. But I am using AI more and more.
Good for
And
you. Good for you. Now,
fun.
so you're learning about AI. Let's go there for a second. What program do you like using the most and why?
I am jumping into Claude Cowork now. You
Okay.
familiar with that?
No, no, I'm not. I'm still stuck on Manus.
So I never used Manus much, but I really like my Chat GPT. We have some good conversations, but it stopped working as well. It doesn't have the memory either and whatnot.
Hmm.
Now, when you get into, I'm part of a couple masterminds on that too, but Claude Cowork, you can get memory and there's Claude Connections and Claude Skills. So you tell it what the end product is that you want. It writes out how it's going to do it. You approve it or tweak it. Then it goes and does it. If it's acceptable, fine. You can schedule it to be an ongoing task, and then it's your agent, an AI agent, or you keep tweaking it. But the that a lot of people don't realize, and it took me a while, if you just take it and you tweak it and go on your merry way, it's not learning. It's just like a person. You got to tell it what it's doing wrong. And then, especially when it has memory, then it will do better. And there's ways to tell Chat GPT how certain things, conventions to use. But yeah, so co-work.
That's amazing. Well, we watch a lot of Dan Martell, who does daily YouTube videos on AI and all kinds of things with AI. And we've actually programmed Perplexity, ChatGPT, and then Manus, and Mike likes Claude as well, where we just say, look, I don't want you to agree with me. I want you to argue with me. I want you to tell me why my idea or what questions I'm asking isn't the full picture. I don't want you to be a yes man. That's not why I have AI. When you do deep research, we want you to drum up what should I be looking at in the bigger picture. And even I'm looking at that in underwriting, going, if somebody brought me an underwriting template and it's just zoomed in on this and it's only looking at their geographic area and it's only their assumptions, I always look at that and go, wait a minute, zoom out. Are they in an area that is completely oversupplied? Are there assumptions that, their vacancy is going to be 0 or 1%? Because that's not reality. Are they saying that their lease up of a 200, unit building is going to be 6 months? Because that's not reality. And it's like all of these things where it's like, I'm trying to teach AI the way I naturally underwrite as well. I'm certainly not as experienced as you, but looking at me going, I try to zoom out, look at the assumptions and zoom back in. And I'm trying to teach my AI agents that too, going, stop telling me that what I think is right. Tell me why it's wrong and what I should be looking at. That's what I want AI to tell me.
A lot of people don't realize AI was developed to be a yes type person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. I just wonder where AI is going to go. I mean, everybody's trying to make sure that it doesn't take over the world. Okay. I don't know if that's possible or not. That's way above my pay grade, but that's crazy. Well, tell us, Ginny, what are you working on now? Like, what are you working on this week? Deals you're working on, challenges you're solving.
Well, I'm putting together my fund and I'm doing
Oh,
a flexible fund. It's going to give people the opportunity to invest in a few different things potentially. And I only will need to do one PPM, is what they're called, the private placement memorandum that's critical for every deal. And every deal will have one as well. But then this will be like the master, the umbrella PPM, which will talk about the types of investing and the criteria and the operating agreement and that kind of thing.
sure.
And so then, like this company that I'm going to be raising capital for, they have their own PPM. They invest in mobile home parks and self-storage. So I will bring theirs in too. So any of my investors have to sign off on my PPM, which also includes theirs. And so
Mm,
be long, but repetitive and with a little bit of explaining, I think people will find it very easy to understand. And
sure.
so, yeah, that's what I'm pushing to get done now. I just see that my battery wants me to connect it and it fell out of my reach. 1 second.
Go for it. No problem. I always say, is this really my biggest problem today?
But I don't want it to cut us off.
No, I
The
appreciate that.
Yeah,
So
so that would be a really fun type of an investment, and it's something that a lot of people already know is successful. Mobile home parks and self-storage have always been pretty understood as generating cash. And so yeah, I've got a few things coming up.
that's cool. Well, so let me ask you kind of an offshoot question. And then I want to learn how we can, if we want to know more about your fund. But the offshoot question is this: is there anything you won't do? Is there anything on the absolutely, I am not doing this investment, like absolutely not? Is there anybody on that list for you?
Of asset types.
Well, or whatever. I mean, like there, everybody's got a, I'm not touching that. What's on your list?
Well, bear in mind, I'm used to messing up property. We take parking, we clip the building, we demolish the building. So I'm used to really challenging things, and I
Okay,
really like the reuse, and I really like putting things to where they're useful. So there's a way to try to tackle anything pretty much, I feel. So, and if I don't know how to, I'd like to find the people that can help with it.
sure,
I myself getting into some public-private partnerships because I'm so used to dealing with government. That's what I would like to be doing in my backyard is helping to make some real placemaking places for people to go and take their families and do things. So mixed
very
use is
cool.
a great thing, but even offices, they're a lot of people think they're bottoming out now too, and some can be retrofitted for data centers, uh,
Mm,
to retrofit for multifamily if they're not set up quite right. But um, there probably is something, but I'm not doing developments because the market's changing so much right now. And
yeah.
I honestly have a little PTSD from the 80s.
Understandably so. Well, no, I like it. You've got a very interesting perspective just with all of the different chapters in your history where not much scares you. And so I wasn't sure what you would have the absolutely, I'm not doing this list. And I thought, I wonder if Ginny has anything on there. And basically, you said not really. You're really kind of willing to approach anything, which I think is really kind of cool. No, it is cool. That's pretty amazing. Well, Ginny,
I've
tell
always
us.
been a problem solver. That's why. So that's like,
Yes. Well, and that's quite frankly, that's how we met, is that we were in the same room at this conference, right? That was who was in the room. I mean, looking at who is in the room is pretty incredible. Ginny, if people want to know more about your fund of funds, or want to be a part of what you're doing, how do they find out more information?
they can reach out through LinkedIn. I'm very active there. And that's LinkedIn/IN/Ginny Bolling, GINNY My phone number is fine by me. I prefer to talk to people sooner than later.
Awesome.
321-303-3258. And the company name is the website pivotalrealestateinvestments.com.
I love it. I love it. Any parting thoughts, Ginny?
Um, keep up the good work. We need lots of good property management companies
Oh,
and people that can handle the tough situations that come up. And so yes, I think that's the critical thing is to pat yourself on the back and make sure I know you keep up. I mean, there's lots of conferences and things you can go to find best practices, and I'm sure you're up with it.
I'm trying. I'm trying. Well, Ginny, thanks for joining us today. I super appreciate it.
I do too. Yes, thank you. It was fun.